Let's talk about life post-wedding. Has the fact that your sister now has taken on this enormous role, not only as a mom, but in her role with the royal family, has it changed your relationship?
Pippa Middleton, the woman whose beauty broke the internet, whose curves sparked a global conversation, whose smile seemed to promise perfection, has lived a life defined not by her own choices, but by a single moment she never asked for. At 42, she stands as one of the most recognized faces on the planet. Yet her story is not one of ambition realized or dreams fulfilled. It is something far more heartbreaking. April 29, 2011, Westminster Abbey, London. The world watched as Catherine Middleton married Prince William. But 180 million viewers weren't just watching the bride. They were watching her younger sister, Pippa, walk down that aisle in a white Alexander McQueen dress that would change her life forever. Not because it was beautiful, but because she never wanted to be seen that way. What followed was not fame. It was invasion. Not opportunity, but objectification. Not celebration, but suffocation. The world saw a woman who had it all. The truth was devastatingly different. Pippa Middleton became famous for standing behind someone else. And for 15 years, she has fought to step out of that shadow, only to discover that some shadows are too long, too dark, too permanent to escape. But behind the polished smile and the perfect posture lies a story not glamorous, but brutal. If Pippa Middleton has ever made you believe in grace under impossible pressure, hit like as tribute to her quiet dignity. This is the story of a woman who became the most famous unknown person in the world, and the devastating price she paid for a moment she never chose. A story of identity lost, privacy destroyed, and the heartbreaking struggle to become more than a reflection of someone else's light. Philippa Charlotte Middleton was born on September 6, 1983, in Reading, Berkshire, England. Not into royalty, not into wealth, but into the kind of comfortable, striving middle-class family that teaches children that hard work matters more than headlines. Her parents, Carol and Michael Middleton, had built Party Pieces, a mail-order party supply company, from their kitchen table. The beginning was not glamorous, but determined. Pippa and her siblings, older sister Kate and younger brother, James, grew up watching their parents work 18-hour days to give them opportunities. Berkshire in the 1980s and 90s was marked not by royal connections, but by ordinary childhood. School uniforms, hockey matches, the pressure of being the middle child, caught between a perfect older sister and a beloved younger brother. Pippa attended St. Andrew's School in Pangbourne, then Marlborough College, the same path as Kate, always following, always compared. The prettier one, some said. The less academically brilliant one, others whispered. The fun one. The party girl, labels she never asked for. She studied English literature at the University of Edinburgh, graduating in 2007 with dreams not of celebrity, but of publishing, of writing, of creating something that was hers alone. She moved to London, took a job at a public relations firm, then at a luxury events company called Table Talk. She was building a quiet, respectable career, dating, laughing with friends, living the kind of anonymous life most 20-somethings take for granted. Then her sister started dating a prince, and Pippa's anonymity began its slow, devastating death. The transformation happened in a single day. April 29, 2011, Westminster Abbey. Pippa Middleton, 27, walked down the aisle as maid of honor at what would become the most watched wedding in television history. 180 million people tuned in globally, 24.5 million in the United States alone. And they weren't just watching the bride. Within hours, the internet exploded, not with congratulations for Kate, but with objectification of Pippa. Her figure in that white dress became the subject of countless articles, memes, websites. One particularly disturbing site received over 2 million hits in its first day. Dedicated solely to rating her appearance, she woke up the next morning famous, not for talent, not for achievement, but for how she looked walking behind her sister. The British tabloids went into a frenzy. The Sun, the Daily Mail, the Mirror, all began tracking her every move. Photographers camped outside her Chelsea apartment. Her morning coffee runs became front-page news. Her outfits were analyzed. Her relationships dissected. By 2012, she had been photographed without permission over 100 times in a single month. Pippa tried to build a career from the unwanted attention. She wrote a party planning book, Celebrate, published in October 2012. The advance was reportedly for £100,000, approximately $640,000. Critics tore it apart. Reviewers called it vapid, privileged, unnecessary. Amazon readers gave it devastating one-star reviews, not because the content was terrible, but because the public had decided who Pippa Middleton was allowed to be. And an author wasn't it. She became a columnist for Vanity Fair, contributing lifestyle pieces. She wrote for The Spectator. She tried to carve out legitimacy in the publishing world. She'd once dreamed of joining on her own terms, but every article came with the same descriptor: Pippa Middleton, sister of the Duchess of Cambridge, never just Pippa, never just a writer, always an appendage to someone else's identity. Then came 2013. A French magazine published topless photos of Kate taken with a long-range lens, while she and Prince William vacationed in France. The palace sued. The world expressed outrage at the invasion of privacy. But Pippa had been experiencing that same invasion for 2 years with no royal protection, no palace lawyers, no public sympathy. She was fair game. Because she wasn't royal. She was just famous for being related to royalty. The most heartbreaking kind of celebrity. All the exposure, none of the protection. The first devastation was the loss of her privacy. Not suddenly, but gradually. Like watching a photograph fade. By 2014, Pippa couldn't walk down a London street without being followed, couldn't go on a date without it being documented, couldn't make a mistake without it becoming international news. In March 2014, she was photographed in Paris with a man holding what appeared to be a gun in a car. The photos went viral. Questions were raised about her judgment, her safety, her associations. The gun was later revealed to be a toy. But the damage was done. Pippa Middleton, the woman who had committed no crime, who had chosen no spotlight, was being judged like a public figure who had signed up for scrutiny. The truth, she was just trying to live. But the world had decided she owed them something: access, perfection, a story. Then came the relationship scrutiny. Every man she dated became tabloid fodder. Alex Loudon, a cricket player. James Matthews, a hedge fund manager and former racing driver. Her romantic life was dissected like a soap opera. When she and James Matthews broke up briefly in 2012, the tabloids celebrated her heartbreak with gleeful headlines. When they reconciled in 2015, every date was photographed, every handhold analyzed. What few people know is how deeply this affected her mental health. Friends close to Pippa later revealed to journalists that she struggled with anxiety. During this period, the constant surveillance created a prison of paranoia. Who was watching? Who was photographing? Could she trust anyone? She couldn't go to a gym without photos appearing in tabloids the next day, with articles critiquing her fitness routine. She couldn't eat lunch with a friend without speculation about her diet, her weight, her secrets. The woman who had studied English literature and dreamed of publishing found herself reduced to a body, a face, a comparison point to her sister. But the most heartbreaking tragedy was the erasure of her identity. Pippa Middleton became a brand she never built, a character she never wrote, a story someone else was telling. In May 2017, she married James Matthews at St. Mark's Church in Inglefield, Berkshire. It should have been her happiest day, and perhaps it was. But even her wedding wasn't hers. The media coverage focused on whether Kate and Prince William would attend, on what Kate wore, on whether Prince George and Princess Charlotte would be in the wedding party. Pippa's own wedding became an event defined by her sister's attendance. The photos the next day showed Pippa looking radiant, but those who knew her saw something else in her eyes: exhaustion, the fatigue of spending 6 years trying to become someone in her own right, only to be forever defined by the person standing next to her. And then motherhood brought a new invasion. Pippa gave birth to her first child, Arthur, in October 2018. Her second child, Grace, arrived in March 2021. Her third child, Rose, was born in July 2022. She tried desperately to keep her children private, to give them the anonymous childhood she'd once had. But photographers still tried to capture them. Articles still speculated about her parenting, her body after pregnancy, her balance of motherhood and social obligations. The cycle continued. Different decade. Same suffocation. At 42, Pippa Middleton Matthews lives in Berkshire with her husband James Matthews. 49, a former professional racing driver turned hedge fund manager, and their 3 children. Her estimated net worth is approximately £3 million, roughly $3.8 million, though her husband's wealth far exceeds that, with estimates round £1 billion through his family's Eden Rock Capital Management and hotel properties. She has largely stepped back from public life. No more columns, no more books, no more attempts to build a brand from the fame she never wanted. Instead, she has found something quieter, more authentic. Pippa works with several charities, including the British Heart Foundation and Mary Hare School for the Deaf, causes she supports privately, without press releases or photo opportunities. She runs, not for magazines to photograph, but for herself. She completed the GE Blenheim Palace Triathlon in 2021, raising money for the British Heart Foundation in memory of her fiancé's brother, Michael Matthews, who died on Mount Everest in 1999 at age 22. She gardens, raises her children, attends family events when required, shows up at her sister's royal engagements when protocol demands. But the woman the public sees at these events is different now, quieter, more guarded. The open smile from that 2011 wedding has been replaced by something more careful, more protective. Those close to her say she has made peace with her unusual position. Not royal, but forever connected to royalty. Famous, but not for anything she did. Recognized everywhere, but truly known by almost no one. She still can't walk through London without being noticed, but she has learned to navigate the attention with grace. Her Instagram account, which she launched in 2021, offers carefully curated glimpses of her life. 300,000 followers see photos of countryside runs, family moments, children's faces obscured, and charitable work. It is controlled, deliberate, hers. The life Pippa has built now is not the one she imagined at Edinburgh University, but it is one she has claimed, inch by painful inch, from the chaos of unwanted fame. At 42, Pippa Middleton Matthews stands as proof that fame is not always a gift, and that living in someone else's shadow requires a strength the world rarely acknowledges. From reading Berkshire to Westminster Abbey, from anonymous professional to global tabloid fixture, from the woman who was photographed, for how she looked, to the woman who fought to be seen for who she is. Her story is not one of triumph over adversity in the traditional sense. She didn't overcome poverty or illness or betrayal. She overcame something more subtle and more devastating: the loss of choice, the theft of privacy, the burden of being famous for being related. Pippa never asked to be a headline. She simply walked down an aisle behind her sister, and the world decided she belonged to them. For 15 years, she has lived with that decision made by millions of strangers, and still, she shows up, still smiles, still carries herself with the dignity that first caught the world's attention. If this story touched your heart, leave a tribute below. Share a moment when Pippa Middleton's quiet grace reminded you that strength doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes it looks like surviving with dignity intact, even when the world refuses to look away.